Hello, guys. How we doing tonight? Did y'all have a good trading day? Hopefully you did. I know I did. I am doing great. Yes, and see that simple word, BE, break even. That's what I had today as well. So I only had one trade and break even, and I didn't look at the PM movement. Do I regret it? You could say so. There were some nice moves, but I don't want to tilt myself. It's very important to me because I know that that is my weakness as a trader. I go on tilt and I get greedy. And I mean, it's a weakness for a lot of traders out there. It's a very common problem that traders have. But for me to alleviate the need to be careful with that, I just limit myself. So, first trade break even, I had to wait almost 45 minutes for that trade to even come to me. So, I just decided to call it a day there. But we'll look into it. We'll definitely tell, right? Just looking from our daily chart, you guys can clearly see we had a continuation lower. So, yesterday, we almost reached our objective that we were looking for here. We did reach recently those equal lows that we were talking about. We reached previous month low, which of course was just previous day low in this case specifically. But then we went even lower and reached our objective, right? What important liquidity pools did we have drawn out, right, in our monthly outlook? Well, all of these old consolidations, these are areas of, well, if you want a simple name for them, right, we can just call them high probability liquidity pools, right? There are areas with lots of liquidity which will make for high probability objectives. Now, as you can see, we reached the first one, even the second one before reversing. And let's be honest here, the long gave you as much opportunity as the short earlier. So it's really the kind of day where, once again, it does not matter what your bias is because both bias were correct. We did a back and forth day, a doji, if you want to call it that. Even on ES, we had a very large retracement after reaching our same lower objectives, right? This low right here is the same as this low right here. And let me just remove this. You'll see just at reaching this point, we had a reversal. We had SMT be present at this point in time. Now, SMT like this is oftentimes just temporary. So I'm not saying that we're done. This is a low. I'm anticipating more downside movement going into March, not necessarily going into tomorrow though. But this type of SMT is usually just temporary. So it is present, it forms a large retracement, and then you get a continuation that breaks it. I saw someone in chat ask today, and Emil answered very well. But what invalidates SMT? Well, first, for me to have SMT, I need a swing point. So I have a swing point here. This is not yet a swing point. I need a 3-bar pattern where, of course, that's, for example, for a swing low, the low to the left and the low to the right need to be higher. So until this candle closes, which means until after tomorrow, right, after Wednesday, I can't call this a swing point. But once that swing point is formed, then if we break back this low, this SMT is no longer valid. So just to go back over it, I noticed that I hadn't mentioned it in a while, so I thought it was a good thing to mention in this case. We'll go down to our 15-minute chart. I also saw, I believe it was Justin talking about that today, so we'll go over it. Are you in here, Justin? Yes, you are. So power of 3 today was all over the place, right? And let me actually mark out the levels that are relevant for the day, which are these two targets of liquidity. Power of 3 was all over the place, right? Definitely not a you thing. And let me just remove these liquidity pools and we'll only look at overnight liquidity for now. And we had 9 a.m. news. We had no 10 a.m. news. Let's just copy and paste that very quickly. And I don't want to be changing. I hope that one day TradingView will add a feature where I can just sync my indicators so that they appear on every chart, right? Just like here, by the way, if you guys didn't know, you can sync a lot of things. This is why when I move one chart, the other one adjusts and the time frames adjust on both. I hope they can do that. Big freeze. If you're hearing echo, it's because of my lack of talent in basically technology regarding, how can we say that, recording. So you have to mute the stream. or myself, you hear me talking double. So you either mute the stream sound or you mute my mic sound, and you'll be able to hear only one instead of hearing two. I do apologize for that. I need to find a good virtual camera software. That's the truth. But to be honest with you guys, that is not my main focus at the moment. Making quality content, which perhaps I could. Right now, I'm just focused on making useful content. But just to get into it, right? Justin, you were talking and we talked about how the power of three didn't make sense, right? Just as we looked at yesterday, this is all accumulation up to here. There is nothing in those highs that I could frame as the high probability for to be the high of day. And especially since the current high of day is a doji that happened, if you guys were there at midnight, we had like a 100-point run, 15-minute, and there is no SMT. So what does this tell me? Well, okay, I have nothing useful I can use. That's the truth. And sorry, this is pissing me off. I want this. All right. And looking at this, any move lower would just be associated with manipulation. Okay. But where will that manipulation end? So you have previous day low here, which is oftentimes a level I love to use. Okay, so once previous day low gets rated, gets taken out, whichever word, swept, right? Whichever word you prefer to use. Well, I could start looking for longs to reverse this power of three, right? Return to the daily open, the midnight open, and then even expand higher because my distribution for this day will be bullish. Yes, but I'm not trying to call the low. I'm waiting for setup to form. So we'll be looking at both longs and short continuations because as we said, we had objectives and even I just deleted the other ones, but you also had objectives lower, which actually I did not delete. But from the point where we took this out, we took an important liquidity pool. And as you can see here on ES, right, that 10-15 candle is where the SMT occurred. Right? And just to go back on the daily chart and show you guys, we're talking about not taking out this level while ES has taken out this level. So you need to wait for something like this to be present. At that point in time, both assets had taken out this level. And you know what? I'll actually show it because it did take a while before we went for it. But see, ES took out this level at 9:45. And it took NASDAQ 30 minutes more to take this. So technically, we started having SMT at 9:45. So we'll keep that in mind for when we go down our lower time frame charts. But I was looking for both continuations lower and reversals higher. But on days like this, where direction is unclear, right? And unclear until a certain point. Starting here, you have SMT, you have everything that frames a reversal higher. Well, you just had to wait for a high probability trade to occur. For myself, I didn't want to wait. So I took a trade, I got broken even on it, and I missed out on the long. But if I would have waited, I would have had a beautiful opportunity to go long, which we'll go over. First off, let's go. I like to go in replay mode so we don't see what happened after the current day, and also my indicators so I don't have to have plenty of settings and plenty of lines. And see, on a day like this where midnight aligns with the daily open very closely, I prefer not to have it. Yes, it's a little different. But as we can see here at 9:30, we had Trump speaking at 9. Is this a normal news? No. What does it mean? Volatile markets, and more often than not, consolidation at the open. And that's exactly what we saw. We had SMTs on both sides of the range. So right at the open, we dove lower and we formed, oh wait, that's not bullish SMT. Where was it? Okay, so it was perhaps later. So no SMT at that low. Okay, so can you trust this Judah swing? No, no SMT once again. But then we dove higher and that's where the SMT, this is the SMT I saw personally this morning. I didn't even look at that swing point specifically. Doesn't matter as long as SMT is present, right? But then if we look right after, this is the SMT I'm talking about. We had SMT on both sides. And before then, you just didn't have a setup to enter on, right? Because you're waiting for a breaker block to form no matter what, at least if you're trading the Rise model, right? And myself, I was just waiting for a breaker block to form. Now, at some point, we formed a bearish breaker block right here once we traded below this, and that's what I traded. We also formed well, pretty much the first breaker block that was of any interest here is this one. And then you have an overlapping fair value gap. And I don't care that the fair value gap is almost 100 handles big. It doesn't matter to me because it's all proportional, right? When the markets are volatile, it moves a lot. Okay, cool. So basically I'm going to have less contracts for the same risk, but it doesn't matter because my upside is also going to be very volatile. So it's all going to balance out in the end. And see here, you would have had a 3PD array stop loss. Do we have an inversion fair value gap? Well, none close, right? Because this, we would have to go in the 1 minute chart, like 30 days past. This is not something I do. So in this case, the invalidation point would be the invalidation point of the breaker. And right here, you'd have a very nice 0.9 R. Is this a trade I am looking to take? No. Myself, I had a tighter stop loss. That's the truth. And to be honest with you guys, my final target was all the way down here. So we had reversal range here that was very pretty. I wanted to take this trade. I knew it wasn't the best of trades. So what did I do? I cut risk and I had a tighter stop loss. I'll plot the quarters so I can tell you guys exactly where. I won't tell you why, because the truth is you shouldn't be looking to take this trade. For me, it was the midpoint of this. We have a 100-point gap. I don't want to see us trade past 0.5. And I think I've told you guys this before, but when I have large gaps, no matter the time frame they are on, and let me actually bring this to solid line so it's a little easier to see, maybe a little bigger too. It's ugly, but we won't keep it for long. When I have a large gap, I just cut it in 4. So this is one fair value gap for me. This is one fair value gap for me, one fair value gap, one fair value gap. And I treat it as such. So in this case, when I'm entering here, I'm entering and I want to see this fair value gap respected. So in this case, you'd have one PD array. I did count the whole fair value gap as one as well. But if you would use the 3 PD array stop loss rule with such a large gap, and when I say large gap, I'm talking we have a 100-point gap in the 1 minute candle. That is huge. That does not happen often. So you can treat them as such. And see here, you'd have actually exactly 2R to that objective. Myself, I had the stop loss a little tighter. Truth is, I was greedy. I didn't take profit here. I was looking for the other one. I was looking for more. And I got railed. That's the truth. I got broken even right here. And since I mismanaged my trade, it is time to call it a day. And truth is, once I got broken even, when I saw that move to the upside, I thought, oh, it's so pretty, but I'm already in the trade. I can't close my trade, right? Well, I should have. And truth is, it would have been fine, right? Close your trade in profit and then try another shot at it. And if that long is false, then I'm just going to be done for the day at that point. But in this case, I personally did not manage that trade efficiently. Now, anyone else could have traded this with ease, right? And if we put here, let me bring back the quarters and put the actual 3 PD array stop loss rule. I personally, as I said, did not want to see it trade past the consequent encroachment. Well, even to the consequent encroachment. But you would have had a very nice trade, straight to R, very quickly. And you would have been happy with that. Well, I hope you would have been happy with that. If not, you're having the same problems, the same issues I am. And then from this point on, as we know, this is where the SMT occurred. Well, it started at, we were looking at what? This candle, I believe. I think it was this low that it started having SMT. And then all the way down here, we have SMT. We have a bullish breaker that forms right here. And by the way, if you weren't looking for shorts here, you do have just a straight up loss for a long. I do want to point it out, right? You have a unicorn right here. You did have SMT at that time, and there is no reason for me not to consider this good because 10 a.m. open is that blue line you see. You open, go and form a low, reverse higher, 100%, right? And you would have gotten stopped out somewhere here. I'm going over it quickly because it's a loss. A loss doesn't give me a lot of information. They're just part of the game. Right? I did want to mention it though, for transparency's sake, right? The model is not perfect. It does not always win. But right here, if you were still looking for longs, once again, you would have had a loss. But right after, you would have had a very beautiful setup. We'll mark out this and actually, let's do it correctly because that's what I was looking at today. As I said, I was still in my short at this point, so I saw this and I saw it form and I let it slip by. Oh, that's not what I was trying to do. But you had a very beautiful trade at this level. Now, why is the entry here? Well, you formed a breaker block, overlapping PD array. Could I say that this PD array is overlapping? No. Once the first point of my fair value gap is almost 20 points away, that's too far. I can't enter on this fair value gap right here. So I need to wait to see if it's going to retrace deeper to my inversion fair value gap, or I don't have a trade at all. And see, in this case, entering on the fair value gap, this PD array has not yet been invalidating. So I can actually count that as one of my three PD arrays and have a stop loss be basically at the same place, if I'm looking at it correctly. Yeah, because this has been invalidated. So stop loss would still be here. So whether you saw this gap or not, then you have your inversion fair value gap, you have another fair value gap below, and that order block. But as we know, when there's an order block and you have it's part of a swing point, I'm going to place my stop at the swing point. 47 handle stop is actually pretty decent. And see, in this case, you would have had the opportunity for well over 2R, and looking at those relative equal highs, this is your partial. Now we'll go to the 5-minute chart here. I'll show you the latest range, and as always, mechanical logic on point. Now you could refer to the big range right here, and you'll notice that even using the big range, your first inefficiency and premium is that fair value gap. So that is the exact point where you would need to or look for a partial. But in this case, I personally like to refer to the latest expansion range, which in this case would be that one. It doesn't matter, as I said, because both ranges are good. That logic works always. But I'm always referring to the latest expansion, and it's this one where we went here, and since that point, we've just been dropping. But nonetheless, right, no matter actually, you have your partial right here, and it would have given you a very nice, I think we were at 2.3 R, almost. Oh, well, there you go, 2.36 R. So that's the trade I missed that I would have been looking for. And truth is, if I just managed my trades correctly on that day, it would have been a very beautiful one, but just back and forth, right? And truth is, this would only be a partial if I'm going long, because from my daily chart, right, we expect a full reversal from the daily power of 3. So for me, this is just a partial along the way, and then a stop loss. Give me a second here, guys. I am a little bit sick and I have a runny nose, so I'm just going to mute myself for a second and blow my nose. If you guys have any questions, now is a great time. Sorry about that. It was an absolute need. I was trying to wait for the end of it, but I had to. But yes, as you were saying, Justin, same thing for me. Just, it was a rough AM session mentally, because if we look here, right at the open, I had absolutely no clue where we were going. Power of 3 told me higher. Price action told me we're very bearish. We're expanding through lows. So, okay, we're bearish, but we should be going higher, and my high probability trades would be higher. So for me, perfect execution on a day like this would not be to take part in this short. It would be to wait for the long. That's what I aspire to look for. So on a day where its price is unclear, but I know my high probability trades will be going higher because of all these liquidity pools above, then I should just wait for the long. And see, in this case, it would have stopped me out at break even after taking a partial, but you had another re-entry opportunity just after, right? Well, that actually leads to a stop loss here, unless the entry is after. No. So see, I say you have a re-entry, but right after getting broken even here, you would have gotten stopped out. So just consolidation in the AM session leading to a lunch expansion and then PM continuation. Let me just look for the entry. Even with losses, I like to show you guys the right entry and the right stop loss. You'll see 1 PD array, 2 PD array. Oh my God, 3 PD array. You would have gotten barely stopped out. That one would have hurt. Let's be honest. That one would have been rough. So definitely happy I closed my chart in this place. But even then, you would have made profit here, broken even. Then you would have lost a little bit of that here, and you would have still had the opportunity for a last bullet. Justin, you know how my risk management goes, right? I've taught you this aspect. For me, I always have that last bullet. So I'm looking for 2 trade opportunities, and then I have a half risk opportunity left. Because that last bullet, and it's not me saying it's gambling, right? But that last bullet is my home run bullet. So even though it is a lower R, when that last bullet is a win, I turn a red day to a green day. Or a break-even day to a green day. Even though it is half risk. And if I have my, let's just say I'm down 2R for the day. Well, what if we make my max loss 2.5R, but then 70% of the time that last bullet works? Well, now I know I have a profitable trading model, a profitable risk management model. Let's just say it like that. Personally, I always leave myself the opportunity for the last bullet. Truth is, I very rarely go to even 2 trades in a day. The only way I trade twice in a day is if my first trade is a loss, a break even, or a small win. So basically, if I win the first trade, I'm done trading. If I don't win the first trade, or if it's a small win, which means I'm under 1.5 R realized on the day, I'll trade a second time. And if that second one is a loss, I usually just like to close my day break even or in a small win. Do you think the bad PA is related to the fact that we have no high impact news in the morning? I mean, there's so many variables that go into it. You know, Trump speaking, we had very volatile. It wasn't bad price action. It was really just extremely volatile, right? We look at the movement just of this small move. On any given day, I tell you, okay, this is like a 120 handle move. No, this is a 350 handle move. When the markets are volatile like this, you need periods of consolidation. This isn't bad PA. Bad PA would be going to this level, then going back here, and then keeping going, right? Deep retracements. But this was a reversal. So it's normal that after so much volatility, you need to spend the time to consolidate. You need to be, basically, you need your risk management rules to allow for this. But no, I wouldn't say this is bad PA. I'd just say that it was very volatile, and that led to it needing to consolidate, right? Large periods of consolidation. But I don't see the issue with this. And I'm seeing right here, all the way down here, right? Is there SMT actually? There was, and then invalidation, so convergence there. Not really anything interesting, right? But from a long perspective, you would have been up on the day. If you took 50% of your profits here, how much would you be up? 0.1, 0.2 R, okay? But still, if you were only looking for shorts, you had a win here. If you were still looking for shorts at this point, after reaching that first objective, as I said, that would have been wrong to me. But if you were, there's definitely a win in here, just a very small win. But for me, I would still be looking for PM trades. I mismanaged my trade. I see it as giving myself punishment. And I know that sounds bad, but for me, it has always helped me to be extremely hard on myself. So I mismanaged my trade. I don't deserve to make money. And I know it's dumb for some people. I mean, I've talked about it quite a bit, and that's the reaction I've gotten. Like, oh, that's dumb. Just, note it, journal it, whatever. But that didn't work for me. That didn't fix my mistakes. So I tried punishments. I used to do push-ups, and truth is, I liked doing push-ups. They were getting me in shape. So why is that a punishment? It's hard. Okay, who cares? So I have a real punishment now. It's if I mismanage, I have to close. I can't trade. I personally was looking at the charts, but I couldn't take a trade. Yes, but I don't think he talked 2 minutes. Oh yeah, Trump gave a little conference, but truth is, it's not Trump is gonna pull a word, a random word, and everything's gonna start crashing. No, it's just an opportunity that brings a lot of people to the markets and then brings increased volatility. We can have a chat for hours about why and how the dynamics of the markets work, but the truth is, it doesn't matter. You guys should be focused not on the why, but on the how I can make money because of this. Or you can focus on the why how I can predict it. But you guys know, there's no point in predicting price intraday in my book. I have a target. It has a high probability of being met. I know that if I take a trade, I have expected value. Every time I click the button, I have expected value, which means that I won't click to make money every time I click the button. But at the end of the day, it is a profitable click. And that's all I need. I don't need to know why it did this, because I know that I could have shorted with profit, long with small profit, then of course lost money there, so nothing much to say there. But then right at 130, what did we see? 130, move lower. Right at this point, what do we have right after? We formed a breaker block. So you have swing low to swing high here. It's a little bit of a rough one to spot if you don't like this, pretty much just in general, right? There was another continuation opportunity here. So this is a breaker block that's a lot easier to spot for most people. And you had an opportunity here. I'm going to show both, but this is swing low to swing high. And even this, if we want to go on the lower time frame and find a lower time frame, sorry about that, a lower time frame breaker block. Like if we just go to the 15-second here, as I've been liking recently, and we look at this, you guys can see what I drew. It's from here to here. So yes, this is a 15-second breaker block here, but that full range is a breaker range that I can utilize to trade. But most people, it's just easier to wait for the 1 minute, easier to have a mechanical rule set. So you would have still had an entry there, but the better entry and the real entry, the first entry, let's not call it the real entry, let's call it the first entry, would have been right here with the 3PD array stop loss. Did we invalidate this, inverse this? No, we did not. So your 3PD array stop loss would actually be pretty wide. So in this case, I'm thinking that the other entry might be a little bit better. So looking at this, your 3PD array stop loss here, you have an inversion fair value gap. Well, actually, your entry would be on that inversion fair value gap. Let's be pessimistic. This is still overlapping to my breaker block. And then you have the fair value gap below as your second PD array, and third PD array is that fair value gap right here. So I think that we have a better return. Oh, no, we do not. Okay, we don't. But further down, like if we're looking, this is here. I'll just bring the text back so you guys can see. Let's bring it to the right. This is Asia high, London high. So you would have had very nice opportunity for return at these levels, right? So pretty similar return from the trade, right? Very 0.2R is variance, right? So whether you didn't spot this, the fact that this was a breaker block, or you basically saw this, but you didn't think it was worthy enough because it was a lower time frame breaker block, you had another entry right after. And this is a beautiful long. Beautiful, beautiful long. And this is based off of a continuation. So you guys know that I like to trade lunch rates and I like to trade 2 p.m. power of 3 in the PM session. So why is this a valid trade? Because we reversed in the morning. And when I say reverse, I'm talking about a daily reversal. That's a little more advanced than I usually like to bring people in. But see, every time I talk about some more specifics of how I read the markets, you guys seem to enjoy it. So you know what? We'll go over it very quickly. Daily profiling. It is that simple. And there is a reason why I'm zoomed out right now. I don't want us to see the candles. I want us to focus on the symmetry. We consolidated into London. Then we had a large expansion lower. If I'm looking for a daily candle to form, I'm going to be looking for this. This is a profile that you see very often in the markets. Especially, well, mainly actually, not just especially, mainly in the indices futures markets, where you see a large overnight consolidation followed by, well, overnight. I don't like to say overnight, but early consolidation. And then in the overnight session, which is what I like to say after 5 a.m. to into New York, you have a large expansion. New York reverses, New York AM session reverses. Then you'll see a lunch expansion and you'll see a PM continuation, not consolidation, sorry. And oftentimes, as soon as these levels are met of current high of day, you'll see a large retracement. When overnight doesn't manipulate, New York Judah does. Yep. Very simple. So it's daily profiling that leads me to look for longs in this area because I expect a continuation of this reversal because it has to reach these levels. Now, is this the highest probability trade? Not necessarily. But is it good enough? Yeah. As I said, I never look for, well, I don't require perfection from the markets because if not, I would be taking 3 trades a month. And truth is, I did try that before, and it is really rough when those 3 trades a month are 3 losses. So I allowed myself to trade a little more. And it means that on trades like this, my win rate is probably close to 50%. Like, we're probably at a coin flip here. But when they pay, they make me more than when they lose. That's all I need to be profitable. But this is a little bit of a setup that not a lot of people might look to take. So, well, I'm going to keep it here for the thumbnail. As I said, guys, a little clickbait never hurt anyone. All right. I'm at 460-ish subscribers. So we got to try and push it. But definitely these morning trades are what I would be looking for. So for me, a day like this is variance, meaning that it is oftentimes a break even. Sometimes it's going to be a small loss, and sometimes it's going to be a small win. So days like this, it's really just luck. It's like there are these 3 things that can happen, and it's 33%, 33%, 33%. Some days like this that consolidate in the AM, I get out with a small loss, sometimes a small win, most often just break even, to be honest. Do you guys have any other questions going into the day? And no, I'm not going to talk about a short here because price have moved 500 handles to then do 600, almost 700 handles. No, I'm not looking for a power hour short. This is not what I do personally. Even though there is SMT at Asia High and all of that, no. That's not something I'm looking for. And I'm not seeing any questions in chat, so I'm guessing everything was pretty clear. We've been in here for 32 minutes, not too bad. We covered a lot of content in that time. All right, pretty clear. Well, on that note, guys, I wish you all a great evening. I mean, it's evening for me, hopefully for you as well. Good luck trading tomorrow. I'm only going to be focusing on trading the AM session very early. And to be honest, I'm not looking to force a trade. I had a very good Monday, and that's pretty much done for the week for me. So I'm going to be waiting for Friday. If I have a good trade on Friday, which I usually do with NFP, I'll take it. But other than that, I'm pretty much done for the week. So you guys have a great night, and we'll speak more tomorrow evening for another one of these peer reviews. Have a good one, guys.